Well, hello and welcome to the F1 show supported by Audi. It's a podcast that isn't a podcast, it's a conversation with myself, Crofty, and I think this is the first time, JB, I've ever said this, and it doesn't please me to say this, the former racing driver, Jenson Button. Oh, that doesn't sound right anymore. The former. What's happened?
It's great. I've got this other, I'm this other person now. It's great. It's like Prince. Right? It's like
oh, right, yes. The artist formerly known as Prince, the racing driver formerly known as Jenson Button, right.
Exactly. See? So there's a future. It's just seeing that future. No, this is an exciting time. I mean, obviously, it's really special because you get asked lots of questions about your racing career, which is really cool because it brings back so many memories. So I've loved the last couple of weeks. It's been really, really special. I had a couple of friends out with me, Chris and Al Buncombe, at my last race in Bahrain in WEC.
Nice.
And yeah, just all the stories. You know, you run through all the stories. They find old pictures of you when you were 11 and laugh at you. But it's been really nice, but also really good to it's time, let's do other things. I've got a family and I feel like I miss out on so much. So I'm in a really good place. And also it just means that I can be with you, Crofty, more. And that's the most important thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. In the words of Prince then, are we going to party like it's 1999 when we see each other in Vegas this week?
1999, that was a good time, 1999. Yeah, so I'm not sure I've got it in me, but we could give it a go.
We will definitely try and give that a go. You gave us a lot of entertainment over the years, and we're going to miss you on track, Jenson Button. The 10th different driver from Britain to win a Formula One World Championship. Here's a segue for you. Is Lando Norris going to become the 11th?
That was a good one, Crofty. I mean, since the summer break, it's been amazing to watch. I'm not going to say transformation because he's always had the speed, but I think the confidence is definitely higher with Lando, and it's great to see. This is such a tough time for a racing driver. Emotionally, what you're going through right now. You're fighting for a world championship. Since you were sort of 5 years old, this was always the dream. And suddenly you can grab it in your hands, but it's whether you can carry that to the finish line. And I loved that feeling, but it's also so tough mentally. And I'm really impressed by how Lando's handled that pressure. And he's just been on a roll. It's been really impressive to see. And it's funny because everyone was saying, including myself, that probably Oscar is the one that is going to deal with the pressure a little bit better. But it kind of feels like it's turned around. I'm sure there are lots of things that, we always go, well, it's the pressure. That's why he's not performing. There could be many other things. But from firsthand, I know how that feels in a championship. It is tough.
Yeah, in many ways, Oscar's recent races have mirrored you in 2009 a bit. As the lead gets whittled away and the pressure gets more and more intense, you found a way to get over the line. What does Oscar need to do from here on in? Because we keep going to a racetrack thinking, look, he's going to find a way to bounce back this weekend, but it hasn't happened. He's finished, fifth in the last 3 races. He hasn't started. Well, I think he started in the top 3 once in the last 5 Grand Prix. What's happening there?
Yeah, and for me, the big one was Mexico, and you see Lando walking away with it, like a massive lead. And Oscar, nowhere to be seen, really. It's a tough one, and we'll have to deal with it in a different way. For me, it was having great people around me that could, there's the support, and also just let me know I haven't forgotten how to drive a racing car. But it just shows you that sport in general it's such a mental game. All these drivers are super talented, natural ability, they work really, really hard. But then when it comes down to it, that pressure on your shoulders, it changes everything. You start questioning yourself. You tighten up under pressure. When that quali lap, you know that you could have done that amazing quali lap, but it just doesn't happen because you've tensed up or maybe underdriven because you don't want to crash because that's going to lose more points. I mean, it just spirals. And just being yourself is always the best because you got there being yourself in that position. So I think he obviously needs to look at where the car is. You can go down a rabbit hole, and that's the biggest issue. Like, well, the car's working for him. I need to find a setup that works for me. And sometimes that can be the worst thing because you don't have much testing and you try so many different things, and you can get quite lost with it. So I hope that's not the case. He's got Mark, who has a lot of experience. Hopefully he's given him the positive feelings and how to handle this pressure, because we want to see this title fight go down to the end, and you never want to see a driver not performing at his best, because we know how good Oscar is, and I want to see this fight all the way to Abu Dhabi because I'm going to be there, so I thought it'd be nice to see it firsthand.
Got to do it for Jenson if no one else. Yeah. It's weird. We see Oscar, we see Lando, and I think we've seen a very chilled Lando walking around the paddock. I haven't noticed a huge amount of difference in Oscar's demeanour. He'll still stop and have a conversation. He'll still crack a gag if he's got the time to do it. But I have seen a few comments where he's talked about Monza. And that's still preying on his mind a bit, and he's kind of been mulling over what happened that weekend. I don't know how you get rid of that then. If that actually does prey on your mind, how do you get over a setback or a weekend where you think, actually, you've not been doing what's right for me? How do you get that to the back of your mind?
You got to speak to the lead guy. You got to get out there and speak to Zach, Andrea. Those are the people that make the decisions, and you need to speak to them and say, well, was this the case? Was this fair? Would you do it again? Do you have my back? And you have to trust them when they tell you the truth. I think that's the main thing. A lot of the time you'll say, wow, but did they mean that? Do they want this British driver to win the championship? Because it's a British team. Well, Zach's not British. Andrea's not British, so best wins, and I think it's just being as open as you can. There's so much always in teams. There's a little chitter chatter everywhere. The most important thing is just beeline for the most important person in the team that makes decisions, and just have it out with them. And I think for the driver to do that, it's really important as well. Yeah, it's great if your manager, because he's been around, he knows everyone in the paddock, but it needs to be the driver. The guy that is in the car that is feeling like it wasn't fair. We
go to Vegas. I'd like to ask who Vegas suits more, Oscar or Lando. I don't actually think it suits either of them, to be fair. It's not necessarily McLaren's track, this one. And I'm not sure it suits McLaren in the case of it's going to be very cold there as well. They might fancy it being a little bit warmer. So it is the answer to that. This is Max's track because he's already shown what he can do around there.
It's the track that Max needs to maximise everything, and Ferrari, and McLaren have just got to pick up as many points as they can and not lose out to Max. Yeah, you're right. It's going to be super cold. There's also a chance of rain from what I've seen.
Yeah.
Which definitely will mix it up on such it's kind of a fast track. Vegas, It's a street course, but there's some fast corners there. In the wet, it would be very tricky. So yeah, it's definitely a Max track. It's a shame to have seen Red Bull and Max drop away the last couple of races because it was like a 3-car fight for the championship. Now it's definitely a lot trickier for him. Still possible if they get those run of performances back since the summer break. But it does feel that McLaren have picked it up a little bit and have been actually maximising what they have, whereas I think they probably weren't before. When the drivers start looking at each other for the championship, you don't maximise really everything within the team, I don't think. So hopefully we'll be back, and it's just about them picking up as many points as they can, the McLaren drivers.
Max is officially out of the title race if Lando outscores him by at least 9 points this weekend. Did he ever truly believe that he was in that title hunt? I don't think Max ever feels he's completely out of anything, but realistically, he wasn't expecting this to be his year, even before Sao Paulo. But that was a truly magnificent champion's drive from the pit lane. And a case of what could have been, I think, in Sao Paulo. We all marvelled at it, but I'm sure we'd rather have started at maybe 10th and he could have gone home and won it and still very much being in the fight. But win or lose, he's still a threat on any given Sunday, which hasn't helped Oscar and might have helped Lando a little bit because he's the one that's been doing the winning.
Yeah, I think when you know after the summer break, after Zandvoort, he started performing really well, or the car did. It was a big upgrade in terms of how the car worked for Max, and he was able to maximize it. And that's all you can do as a racing driver, and he just seems to be able to do that every race weekend. And I think probably the first couple of really good results, he's like, you know what, we're just going to go out for every win we can. But then when there's like four races in a row where you're taking big points at your competition, he's got to start thinking it's a possibility. He's got to, and it must be so exciting. Winning from the front's great, but when you're chasing down people and they're making mistakes, and you're, these big chunks of points every race, it's really exciting. And I think winning a championship like that must be more exciting than just leading it from the first race. So he's still got a chance. And I mean, if he did win this championship, wow, it would be the most impressive win, I think, ever, personally. It's definitely still a long shot. It all has to go his way. The car has to work at every race, and the McLaren need to trip over each other a little bit, which I'm not sure they're going to do at the moment. They're both in a good place in terms of drivers and the way that they work together. It's just the performance.
So it's Lando's 150th Grand Prix start on Saturday night in Vegas. Same for George Russell, also his 150th Grand Prix start. But that 150 Grand Prix, that's the same amount of Grand Prix as David Coulthard had as well for McLaren. So he ties DC and could pick up his 12th win for McLaren, which also ties DC's 12 wins for McLaren. You see where the symmetry is going on this one. It's frightening, right? That you're retired now from racing, and now you're with us in the commentary box. But does it seem a bit strange that Lando, by the time you get to Abu Dhabi, could be the most experienced or the driver for McLaren with the most amount of starts for the team? And we still think Lando, he's not been around that long, surely, but he has. Yeah,
it's nuts. And I think, having 20 to 24 races a season, I mean, you collect races very quickly. I was there for 7 years at McLaren. And I didn't have 150 races. So, it's crazy, isn't it, how quickly time flies. And he's not a young kid anymore. He's still young to us, right, Crofty? Obviously, we're like late 30s, so he must seem very young. You don't have any excuses at that age, right? You've done 150 races, more than most people achieve in their F1 career, a lot more than the average. So there's no excuses at this point. It's like you are an experienced racing driver. I don't even know how old Lando is. Is he 27?
He was 26 last Thursday. You didn't get him a card.
No, I didn't get him a card, funnily enough. Yeah, whoops. But I'm sure there were a few other people that did.
Neither did I, to be fair. Don't feel bad about it.
He's got a reasonable fan base. And it's that cheeky smile, definitely, isn't it, that he's got. But what I love about F1 at the moment is you have so many different personalities in the sport. There's so much talent. When you talk about natural ability, it's just overflowing with it. But for me, it's the personalities I like, and that's a big part of why the sport has grown so much. I think that we see that a lot more, and you get behind your favorite driver now, not because how quick he is on the track, but also how he looks and how he carries himself out the car. I think that's cool.
We've had a few questions while we're talking about Lando. Benson Bartley has asked what's impressed as both most about Lando's mentality this season. Saudi Arabia, Rachel Brooks asked him what the problem was. He pointed at himself and said, I'm the issue here. I'm the problem. That's a world of difference to Mr. Cool, Calm and Collected in Mexico and Brazil, who won by, I think, combined total of over 40 seconds. So what's happened?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've pointed out before that, when a driver is always negative about himself, it can be used against him by, his competitors and what have you. It's not a weakness, pointing the finger at yourself. It's a strength, but you just don't want to let everyone else see that. That's always the way I feel. But for him to understand that an incident was his fault and not trying to point the finger elsewhere in the team. That's very grown up, and I really like that. And I think that is definitely a superpower he has if you can control that mentally. Always saying to yourself, I didn't do a good enough job. I didn't do a good enough job. That can get you down if you don't have the right mentality. But maybe he does, and he's just very good at talking about his weaknesses and how he can improve himself. And it's impressive to see, it really is.
I like the fact that in qualifying he's kind of turned off his delta a bit and has decided, I don't want to know how I'm doing. I know if I'm doing a good lap or a bad lap. I don't want to know if I'm up or I'm down. I can feel it. It's a bit like Luke Skywalker, when he's trying to blow up the Death Star and he gets rid of the computer and just uses the Force. Use the Force, Luke. Maybe maybe Lando's got the Force. I don't know on this one. Maybe Obi-Wan Kenobi is talking to him in his sleep. But I like the fact that he just has said, right, no, I'm good enough. I'm going to back myself. Don't need to know how I'm doing. I know myself if I'm doing well enough. Yeah,
I mean, everyone loves a delta. And if people don't know what that is, in the car it tells you if you're up or you're down on your best lap time. So if you went and did a 1:10 around Sao Paulo into Lagos, and you're 0.2 up, it's minus 0.2 on the dash, which I really liked as a driver. The issue is the track isn't always getting better. So sometimes the track's getting worse, and we've seen that quite a few races this year. So immediately you see it down on your delta, and then you push harder, and you're not maximizing everything. You are over driving, and then the delta gets worse and worse and worse. When maybe 0.2 off wasn't bad. But now you've pushed harder, you're half a second off. So I think if you're able to do that and you've got such a good sense of feel from the car, turn it off. It's a great place to be.
Judith Wardley, hi Judith, messages us both to say Oscar's form dropped when he was forced to tow his championship rival twice in Monza. Yeah, back to Monza again. And then give him a place because the team made a mistake. And that was at the pit stop, of course. Now the team don't fight for him in Brazil. How on earth do you continue to show up and care when you realise the team don't support you? I don't think Oscar feels that the team don't support him. But he has obviously pointed at Monza and said, well, look, that's on my mind. As for Brazil, the team not fighting for him, should the team have marched up to the stewards and say, no, that penalty is really unfair, you can't give him a penalty for that? How did you see it?
It's a tricky one to judge, because he looked like he was well up the inside of Kimi into turn one. It's a really tricky corner as well to see on TV because you've got the different camber changes and what have you. Then it drops downhill at the last moment. But he looked like it was fair game. He was far enough up the inside. The issue is that when Kimi starts turning in because he doesn't either know he's there or wants to squeeze him, Oscar pulls out because that's what you would try and do. He hits the brakes a bit harder and tries to pull out of this situation. He can see that possibly there's an incident going to happen. And at that point, he's dropped back under braking. So when Kimi does actually get into the corner, they can make contact and he hits him, halfway down the car. Whereas if he didn't try and pull out of the incident, they would have been wheel to wheel when they collided. So I think it's a harsh penalty, definitely, when you look at the racing incident. I feel that he was hurt in that incident more than he should have been.
Yeah, it was interesting. Commentating on it, when it first happened, my first thought was he's going to get a penalty for that. Not because I think he deserves the penalty necessarily, but because the way the guidelines are written, I don't think he's far enough into that corner or alongside Kimi to claim that corner. Now, the more you see it, the more you think, well, yeah, Kimi did squeeze him and turn in on him. But it's just the way those guidelines are written. And that's what the drivers wanted. The drivers wanted something that the stewards could be consistent about, and they campaigned for that, and they drew up the guidelines, and everyone was happy. Now, I don't think everyone is happy because the guidelines either A, don't go far enough, or B, go too far and stop the ambiguity. And they are only guidelines. So I wonder why the stewards feel they have to absolutely use them hard and fast at all times. Maybe we need a bit of subjectivity. Is that the right word? From time to time?
Yeah.
It's not easy being a steward, I know.
Yeah, it's not. But in that sort of incident, and also from Oscar's point of view, maybe if he wasn't fighting for a championship, he would have just sent it.
Yeah.
And they would have banged wheels and carried on. But it's that moment when you're like, oh, I really don't want to crash right now because I'm fighting for I can't lose 10 points, 15 points. So it's always a tricky one. But I feel that it was the wrong call on that. Not because he's fighting for the championship, but just in terms of an incident. It was a racing incident. 2 people went for a corner. It didn't quite work out.
And of course, the one who did come out worst was Charles Leclerc and a double DNF for Ferrari, who have had a car on the front row in each of the 2 Vegas Grand Prix and could probably do with that again this weekend.
Quick word on our show partner Audi. The philosophy of Audi Sport isn't just about winning races, it's about pushing boundaries. Everything learnt on the track goes straight into Audi's road cars, making them just as thrilling as they are refined. Take the Audi RS range, serious performance, but with a level of sophistication and refinement that doesn't need to be loud to make a statement. It's that perfect blend of power and precision wrapped in quiet luxury. Whether it's their powerful style or the RS Sport suspension with Quattro all-wheel drive for razor-sharp handling, Audi is constantly redefining the future of performance. Book a test drive today to experience the Audi RS range for yourself.
Let's look at that constructors battle. Mercedes, 398 points. Red Bull, 366. Ferrari, 362. And plenty of points to play for. Evie, hi Evie, says, with Ferrari seemingly the most at odds with their 2025 car, do you think it might be better for them to finish 4th in the Constructors' Championship and have more development time and budget for 2026? I would say that even Ferrari, JB, would rather have the money and the extra, what would be another $20 million for finishing 2nd instead of 4th. But you can see Evie's point on that one. And look, Sao Paulo was really costly for Ferrari, wasn't it?
It was in many ways. I think, yes, it was a lot of points lost, a massive change in the points from 2nd to 4th in the constructors. So yeah, it hurts, but there's still a long way to go, and it's still close enough that they can, if they have a couple of good results, they're gonna finish P2 in the constructors. They're racing against one of their main rivals. Pretty much only has one driver scoring points. So I mean, you'd think it would be easy to beat Red Bull. Mercedes is a little different because both drivers are in really good form at the moment. It's great to see Kimi, fighting for a great podium, great P2, and in the sprint as well. So big points from them, and both drivers, as I said, are on it, scoring points. So for Ferrari, they have unbelievably talented drivers. These 2 drivers, Lewis, 7-time world champion, and Charles, who's been with Ferrari for so many years, and he pushes the boundaries always. When we watch him in qualifying, it's always like, ooh, but the laps he puts together, stunning. So 2 of the best drivers in the world, and if they have a straightforward weekend with no incidents, I think they'll pick up some good points, as long as the atmosphere is good in the team, because that definitely makes a difference.
Yeah, is that a big if at the moment? I think the atmosphere, it's not as bad can be. I'm not sure John Elkins' comments really helped motivate either of the drivers on that one. I did wonder as well, when he said you should do more driving and less talking, was that a thinly veiled message to Lewis? Stop with the documents, stop trying to send things out to people at Ferrari and tell us how to do our job, just get on with what you're paid to do, rather than, stop talking in the media. Because behind the scenes, Lewis has admitted he has tried to offer suggestions, offer ideas as to how Ferrari could do things a little differently, and I'm not sure it's gone down hugely well with the team. That what's the best way to put this? Set in their ways, but have a set way of doing things, because they're Ferrari and it has brought them success over the years.
Yeah, listen, I mean they've always had a lot of pressure on them to perform. Every F1 team does, but especially Ferrari. You've got the whole of Italy wanting Ferrari to win races. So there's so much outside pressure and internally for the whole team, and that's for everyone in that team. So I get it. There's a lot of pressure. But, I mean, John only has 2 cars in the red garage. It's very easy to find your racing driver and go and talk to him and say, you know what? Yeah. That's not cool. That's not the way we do business. That's not the way we work as a team. These are the guidelines. Or let's talk about why you need to do that. Why do you feel the need to be sending so-and-so this and that? I get it, you're trying to help, but this is how it's always been at Ferrari. And yes, we might be willing to change, but let's talk it over. Communication. Communication is the best thing in anything, but especially in a team when you have thousands of people working to develop a car, and you've got two drivers that are two of the best in the world. Just go and have a chat. They have a lot of experience as well of racing for the best teams in the sport.
Yeah, do some more talking, but do it in the right way. To be honest, I agree with you on that one. Evie, thank you for that question. I think I'll speak for Jenson on this one. No, we think Ferrari finishing second might be better for Ferrari, given the pressure that they're under to succeed. And Charles Leclerc saying in Sao Paulo, look, it'd be good. We've not had the best of seasons. Second would be good, but it's not enough. And actually winning is the only thing that is enough for Ferrari, and that is the pressure that they're under quite a bit. Was there a Lewis? Here, Carl Ferguson. Do you think Lewis can grab a podium? It would be wild to see him not get one at the very least. Also, what's it like being Lewis's teammate? Coming in as the World Drivers' Champion and all. You can answer that in 2 seconds. Someone asked me for a bold prediction the other day between now and the end of the season. I said 2 Ferraris on the podium in Vegas, which would be bold and not completely impossible. And I'd like to see that, I must admit. It'd be great to see Ferrari on getting a double podium. And Lewis does not deserve, I don't think, given his success in Formula One, to go through a whole season and not get a podium with his new team. Sprint wins in Shanghai aside. But what was it like being Lewis's teammate? Did that put extra pressure on you?
I mean, it was very different. Obviously, this was 15 years ago. 15 years ago. Wow.
Now we're feeling old.
Yeah, exactly. But, for me, that was the whole thing of going to McLaren, was to race alongside someone like Lewis, who is rated as the best in the world, but also has such an amazing future ahead of him. Coming from Brawn, I didn't feel that 2010 would be a year that they'd be competitive, and McLaren was always the team that was pretty much always there winning races. So that was really exciting to go and race again alongside Lewis. And for me, yes, it blew my mind in terms of how he could just turn it on and get a lap out of the car. Even if he'd been slow through testing, qualifying came, bang, he would just get the lap done. And it used to amaze me, the way that he was able to maximize the car just out of nowhere. It wasn't like he built up to it. So the natural ability that he has was always amazing. The thing that probably he's a lot stronger with now is the mental side of things. It was a lot more difficult back then. I think he felt like it was his team, and I came in and kind of didn't make it my team, but I spent a lot more time with the mechanics, the engineers, build a team of people around me, and I think he was surprised by that, and that they were supporting me as much as they were him. But he quickly learned. I think he's learned all the way through his career, and that's the thing with Lewis. He picks up a lot from his teammates. Fernando Alonso, he learned a lot about how to actually drive a Formula One car, and then probably the stuff out of the car he learned more from me. And Nico, how to be ruthless. So he's had all these drivers that he's learned a lot from, and that's what makes this amazing Lewis Hamilton that we have. And it is a shame to see him not performing as well as we expect. The first part of the year, it took him longer to get to grips with the car. And from what I see, it's the issue at the moment. These cars are very unique in the way that you drive them, and every one of them is different. So it takes time. Every driver struggles when they jump into a new team. But the last few races, the performance has been there. There's been a few little things that haven't gone his way, but the performance compared to Charles have pretty much been there qualifying in the race. So I love to see that, and they just got to fine-tune it a little bit to not have the little mistakes in qualifying and not affecting the lap. So yeah, I think they are on for a podium, and I think everyone wants to see it. I think it's such an important thing for the sport to see Ferrari on the podium, to see Lewis on the podium, and it will be great for Ferrari as well if they can fight for a victory at the end of the season.
Let's just very briefly touch on the midfield battle. 6th place currently for Racing Bulls, 7th for Aston Martin, 8th for Haas, 9th for Sauber, 20 points between them. And like I say, quite a few points up for grabs. That is worth $30 million to whoever can finish 6th over 9th. But if you've got McLaren, Ferrari, Red Bull, Mercedes operating as they should do at a weekend, then you've only got 2 points places up for grabs there. So I think they're looking at others to fall by the waysides. Any surprises coming through, or do you reckon Racing Bulls will take that one sixth?
Well, I agree with you. You know, most seasons that's the way it is. But this year it's really strange where you're getting teams that are sort of mid-pack are scoring big points on certain occasions. And that's really unusual. It's been surprising to see and awesome to see as well. Yeah. You know, a lot of these teams in the middle of the pack have got reasonably good points, you know, and that's quite unusual as well. So any given Sunday, you could have a Sauber fighting for P6 or, you know, or a Haas fighting for P6. And that's big points. And that completely flips their championship upside down. So yeah, it's not over until it's over. And you cannot pick a team to, you know, that's fighting for P6 in the championship.
There's some fine driving going on. There really is. Our producer Ollie says, boys, come on, winner for Vegas, Qatar and Abu Dhabi. Right, predictions time. Can I go George Russell for a win in Vegas? Why not? He's done it before.
There you go. You can do what you want, mate.
Go on here, George Russell. 150th start. George Russell gets the Grand Prix win. Who are you going for?
I think that'd be lovely. I think it'll be Max.
Okay, George against Max. Lando and Oscar and the two Ferraris scrapping over the final podium place there. Bring that on if that is the case. Qatar for me is a McLaren track. Any day of the week.
Yeah. And if it might be the racetrack that Oscar's maximizes what he's got. Again, I keep saying maximizing, sorry.
That's all right.
It might be it might be a race that Oscar can, you know, get the best out of the car. It's a track he's always gone so well at. And I want to see him fighting Lando. Come on. So I think I'm going to say Oscar in Qatar.
Oscar for Qatar. Keep it alive until Abu Dhabi, and then winner takes all. I'm not going to make any predictions about Abu Dhabi. I don't see the point. You never know what's going to happen in Abu Dhabi, quite frankly.
Yeah, and it all depends on what happens in the next two races.
Yeah.
Doesn't it? You know, everyone coming into that race, and if you have a chance for the championship, it changes everything. So, yeah, who knows? But I'm excited for it.
And who's going to win the championship?
You'd have to say at the moment it's Lando's favourite. First of all, he's leading the championship, but secondly, the performances are there. It's been really impressive. So yeah, there's no reason to not say Lando at this moment.
In the style of a bad golfer, and I am a bad golfer who always believes there's a good hole coming at some stage during the course of a round, I'm going to go Oscar for the championship because I've been tipping him all year on this one, and I am so stubborn. I'm not going to change it now because I still think there's a bit more to come this year. Whether it happens or not, I don't know. I've probably got more chance of getting a birdie at Yas Links in Abu Dhabi than Oscar's got of winning the championship. But who knows? You know, I have got a birdie at Yas Links before, and Oscar could win the championship. This is the way it goes. We don't know, and that's the best thing about this season. I tell you what I do know, though, is that a lot of things come to an end in Abu Dhabi. We say goodbye to a lot of things. If Vegas is the 250th Grand Prix of the hybrid era, Abu Dhabi will be the 252nd and final race of this V6 1.6 litre turbo hybrid era, which has introduced many things. But we also say goodbye to DRS. There'll be no more DRS after Abu Dhabi. And Jelly messages us to say, Jenson, since you were the first person to press the DRS button, which I never knew, you were the first person to use DRS.
What can I say? I used the tools at my disposal.
Who did you pass? Or did you not pass?
Wow. Crofty, I mean, Jelly might know.
Jelly might know. Jelly, please message us, and we'll tell Jenson the answer. He's overtaken way more people than you realise here, and he can't remember who it was that you passed. But who, as the first person to use DRS, who's going to be the last person to press it in Abu Dhabi? Given that we're saying goodbye, Oscar, last lap, gets past Lando, wins the championship, uses DRS. How about that one?
Yeah, I mean, crazier things have happened. Yeah, I mean, or just put me in a car so I can be the last person to push the DRS button as well. I feel like it should come full circle.
Oh, the first, the last, my everything. I should write a song about that.
Well, yeah, exactly, yeah.
As Barry White once said, JB, thank you very much. Can't wait to see you in Vegas. I'll be the one with the jet lag. You'll be the one looking fresh-faced because you're already flying for about an hour. Or are you driving? Are you driving from LA to Vegas?
45-minute flight, so
okay.
I will be fresh, ready for the action, Crofty.
As fresh as a daisy, and I hope you guys will too, because guess what? Sunday is race day. What kind of Sunday? 2:30 a.m. Sunday morning. So Saturday night in Vegas. That's when our race day coverage starts. Lights out at 4 a.m. And if you're watching the F1 show in Melbourne, 3 p.m. on Sunday afternoon. Oh, it's a nice time if you're an Australian sports fan. Although, to be fair, by that stage, England will be well on top in the first Ashes test, so maybe that won't be a very good time to be an Aussie sports fan. From JB and myself, thank you very much for watching. See ya, Mr. Fresh, on the strip. Take care, guys.
Cheers, guys.